All right, day 10, and first and foremost, I'd like to apologize for my wife's hair. She told me to say that. I would never say that.
It's so bad.
It
is rebelling against the prayer challenge.
It looks great to me, but it doesn't like day 10 of the prayer challenge.
I can't expect it to look fabulous every day.
So today the assignment is to pray for missionaries. If you go to church, and you should, then your church probably supports missionaries. So that's where I would start, is getting those prayer letters from the missionaries that you support and your church supports, and writing their names down, writing the names of their children down, checking up on that every month and praying for those needs for the missionaries. If you don't know any missionaries, you're not connected to them, I bet you could just ask on Facebook and you'd get 1,000 of them that you could pray for and bring before the Lord in prayer each day.
I haven't done this, but I have dreams of doing this one day when I get my life together. But a prayer card fits right into the prayer journal. So you can just punch holes and you can just stick, because it's the 4x6. I mean, it's roughly 4x6, I think. So,
well, if they're traditional prayer cards, we didn't have traditional.
Our fridge. Anyway, you can try it, or you can slice them up and you can just stick the prayer card right in there, and then that's neat to show your family too, to do with your family.
So a lot of things you can pray for missionaries. Like we said before, Google it or ask them, and they'll fill you in on the specifics. But start with the prayer letters that you get at your church. That'd be the best place to start. Give us some encouragement.
I wanted to share a specific answer to prayer that God gave us, and we've shared this answer to prayer with a lot of people, but when we were getting ready to leave Florida and go out on the year-long process of what we call deputation, which is when you go out to raise support to start the church, we were full of fears, just like, how in the world is this going to work? Because we had a 3-year-old and an almost 1-year-old. He turned 1 the day before we left. And I thought, how is this going to work, like, as a family? And I don't like to stay in people's houses if I have to share their bathroom, and just like so many different things, and disciplining your children and never having any privacy. And I was just like, I just don't see how it's going to work. But I prayed about it, and I asked God to provide our family with an RV. I'm not an RV girl. I'm not a camping girl. I'm none of those things. But I was like, maybe if we just had something to keep our family together, and I started to pray about it. We didn't have the money to just go out and buy an RV at the time, because we were trying to square away all these different financial things. We were selling a vehicle, trying to just figure out how to be able to go on the road with zero debt. And so I started praying, and I said, God, I am just asking you to provide us with an RV. But while I prayed that, I was believing Psalm 84:11, which is one of my favorite verses in the Bible. It says, the Lord God is a sun and shield. And I think I'm skipping another part of that verse. But it says, no good thing will he withhold from them who will walk uprightly. So I prayed, God, you are not my little genie. You don't have to give me everything I want. I recognize that you could answer this prayer however you see fit in your wisdom. But I believe Psalm 84:11. And if this is good for our family, if an RV is what you see as good for our family, then I believe you're going to give it to us. But if you believe that it's better for our family to pack into our minivan like sardines and to stay in a different house every night of our lives for a year, then I'm going to trust you that is what you see as good for our family. That look on your face.
I'm just thinking back to the whole time.
I was like, what? How is this going to work? And so I prayed about that, and then we would talk about different things. And as it was getting closer that we were going to be leaving town, I was like, how is this going to work? I remember having a few conversations with you. I'm like, so how exactly, we are going to be homeless. How is this going to work? And I said, I'm praying for an RV. Are you praying for an RV? And one day you said to me, babe, God doesn't just give people RVs. And I was like, if it's good for us, he's going to give us an RV. So we were shopping online for RVs. We found one that we thought, you know what, that is one that we could finance. We could finance that one. We could make payments on it. And then by the end of after we ruin it, then we can sell it back. And so we found one, and we got on our knees the night before we were going to go and look at it. And it was just such a burden on my heart how in the world we were going to make a go of deputation and get it all done. But we got on our knees, and I said, God, please, if this is your will for us to get this RV, please open the door. or shut the door, like slam it shut. Just show us, God, we're going to walk this direction, but just show us. We got up, we got ready. We just had our 2 boys at the time, so we got them ready. We got them in their little car seats, all buckled in, and we got out the door, and it was pouring down rain in Florida, like the torrential downpour kind.
This is the best time to look at RVs.
And we were on our way to go look at this RV, and we were pretty set on financing this RV, and we had made this decision. This is the direction we're going to go. We're going to finance an RV. We had already looked at probably 50 of them, and we looked and looked. When we were in the car, we got a phone call from Merv and...
I said, remember one we looked at? We went in and looked at it, and Elijah ran out and threw up. Like, that's the kind of RVs.
He remembers that. He was 3. He was 3, and he goes, remember when I went in that one RV and I threw up afterwards? Why did I throw up? I'm like, because it was
That's what you get for $1,000.
So, yeah. So we were on our way to go look at this RV and to finance an RV. And Merv and Betty Livy, who were in their 90s, 80s. I say 90s because they had their RV since the 90s. So they were in their 80s. They had, while we were getting the kids all ready, they were sitting at their breakfast table methodically, as they always would, every morning, sit at the breakfast table, and then every year on that particular day, whatever the date was, that was the date that they would get out their RV and they would shine it up and they would remove the sheets and they would touch up the paint on the windshield wipers and they would make it absolutely pristine in their Winnebago Itasca that they've been driving since 1997. But they looked at each other across the breakfast table, and Murph had some heart trouble prior that year, and he said, well, what do you want to do? And Betty said, well, Merv, I want to do what you want to do. And he said, I think we should give it to the Lord's work. Let's call Matt and Jenny. So they call us, and we're in the car on our way to this RV place, and they said, we were wondering if you would pray about taking our RV, if you would like to have it. And sometimes you don't need to pray for things.
Yeah, we'll pray. And we were like, immediately
oh my goodness, this is such an enormous answer to prayer. I mean, an RV, it was in perfect shape, and we drove it in our driveway that night. And
I kept looking out the mini blinds like every 30, 40 minutes, like just to kind of pinch yourself.
And I'm like, I told you I was praying for this.
Oh, yeah.
And we drove that RV in. Sweet Betty, she was like, do you want me to help you come clean it? And I'm like, absolutely never, because it's not in the same condition as when you gave it to us, because now we have 2 children in here. But we drove that thing and it helped us. We really lived out of it full time for 6 months. And it was just such a blessing. And then fast forward, we ended up selling that RV. The Lord wouldn't allow it to sell. While we were praying for a vehicle, because our van that we drove on deputation died and needed to be set on fire. Not really, but so we needed a van. And Matt went and let's see, how did that go? So we
put it on Craigslist after
not the van, the RV.
Yeah,
we put the RV on Craigslist.
And one day it was like 2 feet of snow here in Missouri. And
nobody buys RVs
from
in the snow.
A nurse in Kentucky, a traveling nurse, and he was looking for an RV, and he went to my dad's house where it was being stored, and he bought it for the full asking price. And we took that money and were able to give the exact price for the van that we drive.
Exact price for a van that you found in Ohio.
In Ohio, yeah.
And this story, we can't make this stuff up. You were preaching in Virginia. The flight was delayed one day to fly to Ohio so you could go get this van and drive back. And you sat next to this man on the plane, and you led him to Jesus. Yeah. And that man gave you a hug and said, I can't believe my priest has never even told me about this. So just the way that God worked in all of those things. And if I had never stuck my neck out there, that's what faith is going out on a limb and being like, okay, I feel stupid now that I'm praying for these things. But if I never stuck my neck out there, I don't believe God would have provided in that way. And I don't believe we would have been given that RV. And then I don't believe we would have, obviously, if we didn't have the RV, we wouldn't have been able to sell it for the van that we would have gotten. And you would have never been on the plane next to the guy that you led to Jesus on the way to Ohio. How many minutes did that take us to tell? The girls are crying. They woke up from their nap. We got to go.
Bye-bye.
That is the encouragement for today.
10, T-shirt day.